Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, welcome to our next session on B2B marketing with technology focus. Our topic for this session will be supply chain management. We have discussed industrial selling, we have discussed industrial procurement. Earlier we had discussed about distribution in the context of the marketing mix in B2B. This supply chain management in a way is a complete view of all these activities, right from the source to the final customer. The entire chain of operations are normally looked at by supply chain management. So, the formal definition we will come to just now. So, we are looking at therefore an innovative approach to the distribution process, and we are going to look at the various links that integrate production and customer through the various activities. So, the integration of business processes from end user backwards to the original supplier, manufacturer supplier, that makes products, services available and flow through the value chain, and the generated information flow, all that are covered by this topic of supply chain management. So, this diagram is an excellent depiction of a supply chain management in all its aspects. You see, on the left hand side at the extreme we have the supply, the suppliers. That terminology will include the manufacturers and maybe the factory, warehouse and so on. But going forward from there, we are looking at the various blocks, operational blocks of procurement, operation, distribution and logistics, customer service, ultimately to the customer. So, the customer is getting it from the distribution and logistics block, who are backed up by operations and procurement, and then it goes finally to the supplier. So, this is the entire chain, and the arrow which is given at the bottom shows that the flow of product is from the left to the right. But if you see the bidirectional arrows which are on top, the very top one indicates information flow. Now, information flows up and down this supply chain, because information is generated when the product services go forward from the source to the customer. Information will be generated at every stage, and information also will be generated from the customer end, which will have to flow back to provide the feedback to the supply system. And out of the information, various analytics generate intelligence, and that also flows back and forth. Now, the cash flow, that means the money that is paid by customer in exchange of the products and services, primarily flows from the right to the left as opposed to the product flow from the left to the right. But that arrow is also bidirectional, because there will be sometimes some refund or some surplus stock disposal, etc. So, therefore, some money may also flow from the left to the right, that is why that arrow is bidirectional. So, we are therefore in supply chain model looking at all the activities related to planning, buying, making, moving, selling, everything. Even the act of final delivery and acceptance, etc., are also part of the supply chain in case of B2B. Now, the supply chain as we know it today in most organizations, which is on the extreme right hand side, the stage 3, was not always like this. In fact, even today, a startup organization or a very small organization operating within a very small ecosystem may actually be at stage 0, which is on the extreme left hand side, because there things happen almost in an ad hoc fashion. So, products are purchased or products are ordered as and when necessary. There is not a much of a system at that stage, because as a startup you are at a very early stage. So, you are still almost in a laboratory sort of scenario or initial prototype to realization scenario. So, at that stage we will have lot of ad hocism and therefore, lot of person to person communication, making the procurement and delivery, payment, etc. happen. In stage 1, there are some functional distribution and formalization that takes place, but in a stage 1 organization there still will be some duplication. The same source may be supplying to different requirements to the different departments. So, there are therefore double arrows from the different nodes, because it is not fully streamlined. So, there are duplications and there are overlapping flow of products, information and so on. The stage 2 is where many organizations are there even today. Here some computer based, software based integration happens. So, the source, that means material, raw material procurement stage to the manufacturing stage to the delivery stage to the acceptance stage, all that are well integrated, and that is why you see there are not very many overlapping activities, and the whole thing is well planned and happens in an integrated fashion. In the last block or stage 3, in fact, most automotive manufacturers like Maruti or Mahindra or Tata Motors, they operate at stage 3, because they not only connect the source, procurement, manufacturing and other aspects of operations, delivery, all that within the organizations are definitely networked and integrated, but in these organizations their tier 1 suppliers. So, for example, for automobile manufacturers, the people who make the body parts, suppliers who make the steering system or the brake system, suppliers who make the door lock system, all these sub assemblies or building blocks of the car or of the motor vehicle are all connected to the sort of what we call the expanded enterprise supply chain network. So, they are very tightly coupled. So, the steering system manufacturer will know time to time, almost moment to moment, they will know that what are the changes happening at their customer end. That means, the car manufacturer or the vehicle manufacturer, their production schedules are tightly locked to the production schedule and delivery schedule of the tier 1 suppliers. So, the steering system manufacturer will know exactly what are the demands, because many of these systems operate on just in time basis, or there are all efforts made. So, there are not lot of inventory pile up in the pipeline. So, this almost coupled networks make that low inventory system possible, and because each player exactly knows the requirements of the upstream players, and the upstream players know that what is happening with the production and delivery of the downstream players. So, that is called the stage 3, which we call the expanded enterprise, where internal and external processes are integrated, allowing each enterprise in the value network to focus on their next stage customer, and core competencies and value creation, all that are quite integrated. But in many cases you will find organizations at stage 2, where there are alignments across the sub processes and levels of management. Operations management processes are integrated and they display world class performance and continuous improvement, but they may not be connected to the network of their external suppliers, or as it happens in case of the extended enterprise, sometimes even the automobile manufacturers top customers or B2B customers may also be connected to this network. That we will not see usually. These external connections we will not see in at stage 2 operation, but in stage 2 operation all the internal operations are pretty much connected and networked. So, the goals of supply chain management, I was mentioning about inventory just now, but not only inventory, all kinds of waste, even activity wise wastes of duplication etc., must be minimized. So, minimize duplication, harmonize the operations and the systems overall, so that quality and productivity both are optimized. Time compression also is a continuing need, time crunching, because as we know, again the famous saying that time is money, and that is more true in case of business to business operations. So, the compression of the order or even the need generation or need identification to the process in between to the order, and then order onwards to the various operational processes leading to the final delivery, this entire cycle time will be continuously crunched. So, there are many instances, for example, in the automobile industry, you can easily find some of those case studies on the internet, and you will find that many cycle times have been reduced to 1/10 or even 1/50th of the previous standards. So, this is a process. So, waste reduction and time compression both are a moving goal. Organizations are continuously improving their performance on these. And the increasing the flexibility of the whole system is also another major goal of the supply chain management system. So that if there are sudden shifts in the customer's requirements, or there are sudden changes in the marketplace, then the whole supply chain management must be able to respond to that quickly. So, for example, automobile manufacturers, again I will continue with that example, they will often have sudden demands of certain types of vehicles from the market, to which they have to quickly respond, or they may often have a tremendous pressure to reduce the delivery lead time of certain models. At that stage, they want the supply chain management, which is in an that stage 3, where the expanded enterprise, that means the organization, the manufacturing organization of the automobile manufacturer, as well as their major suppliers, they all must respond flexibly to this sudden increase in demand or sudden change in the demand pattern, etc. So, waste reduction, time compression, flexible response, and finally, unit cost reduction. These are the supply chain management goals. And this unit cost reduction, utilizing the optimization procedures in the supply chain management, are again areas where some of the major manufacturers like automobile manufacturers have achieved tremendous result over the last 40-50 years. And you can find many of those famous cases in companies like Toyota or even our Maruti or Tata Motors. You can find lot of examples which are available on the web, and it will be worth reading those. The supply chain management efficiency and effectiveness for these things that we just now discussed about waste reduction, time compression, flexible response, all these have become possible more and more because of the advent of internet technology and various kinds of supply chain software. Many of those software which were earlier in different other companies, a lot of those have already got all integrated in Oracle or SAP and such major software suites. So, in the supply chain we have physical supply, physical distribution, and we have information production and information distribution. So, the controllable elements in the supply chain system or the logistics systems, another name, you can look at it from the bottom upwards. So, we have plant and warehouse locations where strategic placement of plants and warehouse, they increase the customer service level and reduce the cost of transportation and the time of transportation. Going up from there, the production planning system, the material handling system, the packaging system, the inventory control, the warehousing, the transportation to the warehouse, the logistics and communication, the order processing and manufacturing, and the order taking and customer service in that respect. All these are all integrated in the SCM. So, virtually no logistical decisions can be made without evaluating how it might affect the other logistical areas, because it is understood now very clearly that this entire system operates like an ecosystem. So, if you tweak at one end something, you have to also adjust then all the other layers or other blocks on the network. So, you can actually read in detail these controllable elements in the logistics system under each heading, and they are pretty much clear. Some of the elements which we were talking about just now, that we need to crunch the time, we need to reduce the unit cost, etc. So, in this particular slide we are showing the common elements of the logistics service, and in the responsive logistics service, which advances customer satisfaction and improves the seller buyer relationship, we will see focus on these activities as well as targets of improvement. We will see continuous focus on delivery time, which I was talking about just a little while back, where we have seen 10:1 or 50:1 improvements in the recent past. Delivery reliability, a very interesting concept, where we frequently measure the logistics service delivery reliability by way of looking at capability of having products available to meet customer demand, and we see what percentage demand has been met on time, and all these will be continuously measured. The elements are clear, the activities under each are also that way easy to understand, and again I would say that go through this slide in detail. I am not covering each and every point because they are very easily understood. Some of the concepts may be interesting to refer is that, for example, the ease of doing business. Here the supply chain management actually plays, the logistics service plays a major part in improving the customer's level of satisfaction with the ease of doing business. So, here we look at a range of factors, including the ease with which orders can be placed, returns can happen, credits can be issued in case of returns, and billing and adjustment are all handled in ease of doing business. So, you see there are major these satisfaction elements have been identified on the left, and what those blocks mean, what kind of activities are covered by those blocks are explained on the right. So, the B2B logistical management considerations are by way of logistic facilities, transportation, inventory management, all that, and the inventory management is I just now mentioned, and again I am emphasizing it because this is a major element of cost that is almost embedded in the logistics system, and often there will be pile up, and that is actually a totally infructuous expenditure. It no way adds value to the entire value chain, and therefore, production and demand are to be perfectly matched. That is therefore a primary goal of having a good logistics system. That is what we saw in that stage 0 to stage 1 to stage 2 and stage 3. All the application of software and all the application of networks, all the application of internet applications are for basically managing inventory more effectively and efficiently, because this is the first sign, the inventory build up will be the first sign that something is not in order in the logistics system. So, that is why this is very tightly monitored, and the other thing is in inventory as opposed to the B2C system, where there are many buyers and there are many suppliers. The fluctuation happens not in an uncontrolled fashion, because this multitude of suppliers and multitude of buyers can absorb fluctuation. But in B2B we are dealing with few suppliers and few buyers comparatively, of course, as a result of which the uncertainty can really throw the whole system out of gear unless it is actually designed for that kind of flexible response. That is what we mentioned. So, we need to have that ability in the system to take some variable shocks. So, that concludes our short session on supply chain management, which is a complementary activity. This whole logistics management system is a complement to the sales management system, to the distribution management system, to the procurement system. All that, particularly we discussed at length about e-procurement etc., and e-commerce. In all that, a sophisticated logistics system is absolutely required, and the presentation that we handled today in this session gives you some first understanding of the way it is achieved and the building blocks of a flexible, responsive, fast, time crunched logistics system. Thank you.